Welcome back, boys and girls, to our reading of James the Giant Peach. Hopefully you have with you a parent, a sibling, or your super cute stuffed animal friend to help ask and answer questions as we go. Remember, we always want to think as we are reading. We want to make sure we understand the adventures these characters are going through. How are they feeling? What are they doing? Why are they doing that? These are a few questions you could ask yourself as you're listening to me read. Now, before I continue with chapter 24, I want you to think, what has happened so far in the life of James? Go ahead and pause my video so you can talk to your friend. So welcome back. We're going to get ready to read chapter 24. Hopefully you discuss what happened so far in the life of James. You could have gone back to the time where the peach was growing with magic green wiggly things. You could have discussed how the peach rolled and trampled down towns and villages before it splashed into the ocean. You definitely should have mentioned the fact that they literally just escaped with their lives with seagulls because sharks were attacking the peach. And as they were floating up into the air, they totally freaked out a ship, the Queen Mary, that was below, to the point where the captain thought he was going mad, or at least his first and second mate did. So now we're in chapter 24, and the seagulls have lifted this peach out of the water, and they're floating through the air. So, 24. But up in the peach itself, everyone was still happy and excited. "I wonder what we'll finish up this time," the earthworm said. "Who cares?" they answered. "Seagulls always go back to land sooner or later." Up and up they went, high above the highest clouds, the peach swaying gently from side to side as it floated along in the sky. "Wouldn't this be a perfect time for some music?" the ladybug asked. "How about it, old grasshopper?" "With pleasure, my dear lady," the old green grasshopper answered, bowing from the waist. "Oh, hooray, he's going to play!" they cried, and immediately the whole company sat themselves down in a circle around the old green musician, and the concert began. From the moment the first note was struck, the audience became completely spellbound. And as for James, never had he heard such beautiful music as this. In the garden at home on summer evenings, he had listened many times to the sound of the grasshoppers chirping in the grass, and he always liked the noise that they made. But this was a different kind of noise altogether. This was real music, chords, harmonies, tunes, and all the rest of it. And what a wonderful instrument the old green grasshopper was playing on. It was like a violin. It was almost exactly as though he were playing upon an actual violin. The bow of the violin, the part that moved, was his back legs. The string of the violin, the part that made the sound, was the edge of his wing. He was using only the top of his back leg, the thigh, and was stroking this up and down against the back of his wing with incredible skill. Sometimes slow, sometimes fast, but always with the same easy flowing action. It was precisely the way a clever violinist would have used his bow, and the music came pouring out and filled the whole blue sky around them with magic melodies. When the first part was finished, everyone clapped madly, and Miss Spider stood up and shouted, "Bravo! Encore! Give us some more!" "Did you like that, James?" the old green grasshopper asked, smiling at the small boy. "Oh, I loved it," James answered. "It was beautiful. It was as though you had a real violin in your hands." "A real violin?" the old green grasshopper cried. "Good heavens, I like that, my dear boy. I am a real violin. It is part of my own body." "But do all grasshoppers play music on violins the same way you do?" James asked him. "No," he answered, "not all. If you want to know, I happen to be a short-horned grasshopper. I have two short feelers coming out of my head. Can you see them? There they are. They are quite short, aren't they? That's why they call me a short horn. And we short horns are the only ones who play our music in the violin style, using a bow. My longhorn relatives, the ones with those long curvy feelers coming out of their heads, make their music simply by rubbing the edges of their top wings together. They are not violinists, they are wing rubbers. And a rather inferior noise those ring rubbers produce, too, if I may say so. It sounds more like a banjo than a fiddle." "How fascinating that is," cried James. "And to think up until now, I had never ever wondered how a grasshopper made it sound." "My dear young fellow," the old green grasshopper said gently, "there are a lot of things in this world of ours that you haven't started wondering about yet. Where, for example, do you think I keep my ears?" "Your ears?" "Why, in your head, of course." Everyone burst out laughing. Let's pause for a quick second and turn to your stuffed animal friend or your parent. Why do you think they're laughing at James? Pause and discuss. I'll be right here waiting for you. So, hopefully you made your prediction as why you thought they were laughing at James. Let's read to find out why. "You mean you don't even know that?" cried the centipede. "Try again," the old green grasshopper, smiling at James. "You can't possibly keep your ears anywhere else." "Oh, can't I?" said the green grasshopper. "Well, I give up. Where do you keep them?" "Right here," the old green grasshopper said. "One on each side of my tummy." "That's not true." "Of course it's true." "What's so peculiar about that? You ought to see where my cousins the crickets and the katydids keep theirs." "Where do they keep them?" "In their legs. One in each front leg, just below the knee." "You mean you didn't know that either?" the centipede said scornfully. "You're joking," James said. "Nobody can possibly have ears in their legs." "Why not?" Because that's ridiculous, that's why." "You know what I think is ridiculous?" the centipede said, grinning away as usual. "I don't mean to be rude, but I think it is ridiculous to have ears inside of one's head. It certainly looks ridiculous. You ought to take a peek in the mirror someday and see for yourself." "Pest!" cried the earthworm. "You must always be rude and rambunctious to everyone. You ought to apologize to James at once." And that is the end of chapter 4. Why do you think the centipede is acting so hateful to James? Is he being hateful? Or is he just being his usual loud, obnoxious self? That's just something to think about before we continue with chapter 25 this week. Now, I'm going to have a few questions listed on your Google Classroom to correspond with that chapter. You can always go back and replay the video if you need to. But work hard. You want to make sure you truly understand what's going on in the story. Because after we get a few chapters in, we will have our quiz. And you want to make sure you do well. So keep your eyes on the target. You can do it.